What if I told you that your phone might actually be changing the literal way your brain works? And I'm not talking about some far-off futuristic science fiction scenario. I mean, this is actively happening inside your head right now. Every single time you check a notification, swipe through a short video, jump between apps, or just blindly reach for your phone the second you feel a tiny hint of boredom, you are actively teaching your brain what to expect.
Over time, as this rewiring happens, something incredibly strange starts to occur. Everyday, normal life begins to feel, well, boring. I mean, think about it. Sitting down to read a physical book suddenly feels ridiculously difficult. Trying to do deep, focused work for just 30 minutes, it feels completely exhausting. Studying can feel near impossible. But somehow, effortlessly, you can scroll on your phone for 2 straight hours without even realizing where the time went.
And when that happens, what do we naturally do? We beat ourselves up. We say things like, you know what, I'm just lazy, or I'm not disciplined, or I just don't have enough motivation. It is incredibly frustrating to feel that way. But what if that negative self-talk is completely off base? What if a lack of discipline isn't actually the problem at all? What if, instead, your brain has simply become extremely highly efficient at doing one very specific thing, looking for the absolute next source of stimulation?
Section 1. The mechanics of distraction. How you lose your time.
Think about the last time you sat down to do something genuinely important. You open your laptop to work, you've got a plan, and for the first few minutes, everything's totally fine. But then, step 1, the task becomes slightly difficult. Step 2, you feel a little bored, and you just want a tiny, harmless mental break. So, step 3, you pick up your phone. Just for a minute, right? You check one notification, maybe you open Instagram or TikTok, and suddenly, step 4, 20 whole minutes have completely disappeared. But here is the really crazy part. You didn't make one big, conscious decision to waste 20 minutes. It happened through dozens of tiny, almost invisible little concessions.
And that is exactly how distraction works. It doesn't usually kick the door down and destroy your entire day all at once. It sneaks in. It steals your day in small, sneaky pieces. 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there, 10 minutes somewhere else. And by the time you reach the end of the day, you look back and wonder why you didn't accomplish a single thing you set out to do.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how our brain adapts to all this. You see, your brain learns from repetition. The things you repeatedly do become easier, and eventually they become automatic reflexes. If you repeatedly check your phone the second you feel bored, your brain hardwires a connection. Boredom means phone. If you check social media whenever a task becomes difficult, your brain creates another reflex. Discomfort means escape. If you constantly switch between apps, videos, messages, and notifications, your brain gets completely used to the state of just constant switching.
And this brings up a very real physical reality. When you finally do sit down and try to focus on just one thing for an hour, it actually feels physically painful. You feel restless. You want to move around. You desperately want to check something. You crave that stimulation. Why? Because your brain has become accustomed to something entirely different. Imagine going to the gym every single day, but you only ever train one muscle. That muscle would get incredibly strong while all the rest weaken, right? Well, your brain isn't fundamentally different. If you constantly practice distraction, distraction becomes easier. If you constantly practice instant entertainment, waiting becomes harder. If you constantly switch your attention, staying focused actually becomes physically uncomfortable.
This completely explains a phenomenon that so many of us struggle to understand. You can watch short videos for an hour with zero effort, but reading 10 pages of a book feels like grueling physical labor. You can spend a whole evening jumping between apps, but 30 minutes of studying just wipes you out. You can consume hundreds of pieces of information in a single day, and yet feel like you haven't actually learned a thing. That's because consuming information and concentrating on information are two completely different skills.
Section 2. The trap of unpredictable rewards. Why we can't stop checking.
Modern apps know exactly how to keep you moving from one thing to another. I mean, you never actually reach the bottom of the feed, do you? Which brings us to the ultimate psychological hook. The unpredictable reward. This is when the brain doesn't know when the next interesting thing is coming. Because you don't know what's next, you have this continuous nagging reason to keep checking. Maybe the next video will be absolutely amazing. Maybe someone finally replied to your message, so you check again, and again, and again. And eventually, you reach this kind of chilling milestone. You don't even need a notification anymore. You create the reason yourself. You feel slightly uncomfortable, and your hand just automatically reaches for your phone. You don't even know what you're looking for, but you open an app and start scrolling anyway. That is the exact moment a tool becomes a habit. And habits are incredibly powerful because they happen before your conscious mind even has a chance to weigh in and say, hey, stop.
Section 3. The fear of silence. Running from our own thoughts.
Now there is a deeper layer to all of this.
Your phone doesn't just compete with your work or your studies, it actively competes with your own thoughts. We have developed a profound fear of silence. I want to ask you a question, and really honestly think about this. Think about the last time you had absolutely nothing to do. No phone, no music, no conversation, just you. How long could you realistically sit there? For a lot of us, even a few minutes of that feels intensely uncomfortable. Because the very moment the brain experiences silence, it starts frantically searching around for stimulation.
And that matters a whole lot more than you might realize. Just think about it. Some of your very best ideas come when you are not constantly consuming something. They happen when you're going for a walk, taking a shower, sitting quietly, driving, or literally doing absolutely nothing. If you fill every single empty moment of your day with external content, you are robbing your mind of the opportunity to process the thoughts and the ideas that are already inside it.
There's something else this habit quietly steals from you too. Your ability to tolerate discomfort. And we really need to accept a hard truth here. Real progress? It's uncomfortable. Learning a difficult new skill is uncomfortable. Working out is uncomfortable. Building a career, starting a business, having a difficult conversation. Even just doing the work to become a better version of yourself, all of it is deeply uncomfortable.
So the crucial takeaway is this. If you have trained your brain to escape discomfort instantly by reaching for a screen, what happens when life itself becomes difficult? You escape. You procrastinate, you quit, you distract yourself. And then you sit there wondering why you aren't moving forward. This is exactly why this explainer isn't just a story about smartphones.
Section 4. The social comparison cycle. Giving away your attention.
This is actually a story about attention, because whatever controls your attention eventually influences your entire life. If your attention belongs to other people's lives, you might slowly stop building your own. Social media creates this incredibly toxic trap. You open an app just because you're bored, and within literally seconds, you are watching someone traveling the world, getting in incredible shape, or living the life you wish you had. You aren't just distracted anymore, you're comparing. You are looking at someone else's carefully selected highlight reel and comparing it directly to your completely ordinary, behind-the-scenes Tuesday afternoon. You don't see their bad days, you don't see the years of hidden work, you just see the highlight. So, what happens? You close the app, and you instantly feel like you are behind in life. And what do we do when we feel uncomfortable or bad about ourselves? We look for an escape. We look for a distraction. So, you scroll again. This creates a completely vicious cycle. You scroll, you compare, you feel worse, you look to escape that negative feeling, so you scroll again.
Section 5. Fixing your environment. Taking back control.
But listen, here is the part I really want you to remember from this explainer. Your brain is not broken, okay? You have not permanently destroyed your ability to focus, and no, you don't need to throw your smartphone into a river to fix this. We can take back control, and the real solution is actually much simpler than you might think. You need to stop making distraction the absolute easiest option in your environment. If your phone is always sitting right there within arm's reach, if every single app is just one quick tap away, if every notification is allowed to just interrupt your thoughts whenever it wants, you are forcing yourself to fight temptation hundreds of times every single day. And relying on sheer willpower to fight a supercomputer in your pocket, that is a terrible, exhausting strategy. You don't need more willpower. You need a better environment. Once you truly understand that you are fighting an environment problem, not a character flaw, taking back control of your attention and really your life becomes so much easier. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about today. If willpower isn't the answer, what is one single change you can make to your physical environment right now to protect your attention?
You know, when we talk about phones and screen time, it is so easy to feel like technology is the absolute enemy. But how do you actually take back control? Well, the good news is you don't need to delete every single app on your home screen. You don't need to completely disappear from the internet, and you definitely don't need to become someone who just never uses technology. That's not realistic, and frankly, it's just not helpful. Now, there's a really clear distinction we need to make here. Your phone can absolutely be one of the most useful tools you own. I mean, it can teach you new things, connect you with people you care about, help you build a career, give you access to literally limitless information, and even help you create something amazing. The problem isn't the technology itself. The problem is using that technology without any intention. So let's look at how we can actually change the way you use it. Section 1. Removing triggers and creating friction. To get started, we really need to talk about taking back control of your physical environment with a few incredibly practical, easy wins. I want you to open your phone right now and just look at your notifications. Seriously, take a look. You need to ask yourself one simple question. Which of these actually deserves to interrupt me? I'm guessing probably not many of them. Your phone shouldn't be constantly announcing that something exists in the digital world. turn off the notifications for apps that don't require your absolute immediate attention. You really don't need to know the exact second someone liked your post. You don't need every promotional message, and you certainly don't need your phone buzzing and vibrating every single time something happens online. Because think about it. Every single notification is essentially a tiny voice saying, hey, stop what you're doing and look at me. If you allow hundreds of those interruptions into your day, you're literally giving away control of your attention without even realizing it. Step 2 is all about creating friction. You want to make distraction slightly harder. So move your most distracting apps away from your home screen. Log out of them entirely if you have to. Delete the apps you just don't actually need. But beyond the digital space, look at your physical space. When you're doing something important, do not keep your phone right next to your laptop. Put it across the room. Or better yet, put it somewhere you can't even see it. Because if your phone is sitting right next to you, even if the screen is totally dark and turned off, part of your brain knows it's there. That tiny possibility of checking it becomes a distraction all on its own. You want your physical environment to make the right behavior easier. Think about it. If your phone is in your hand, scrolling is easy. If your phone is in another room, scrolling requires a decision. That extra physical distance really matters because a habit becomes weaker when you interrupt the automatic sequence. Section 2. The first 20 minutes. This brings us to one of the absolutely most critical parts of your day, which is the transition from your evening routines to the very first moments of your morning. So the crucial point here is this. Tonight, try putting your phone somewhere outside your bedroom. If you can't do that, put it entirely across the room, not right beside your pillow, not underneath your blanket, and definitely not in your hand until the exact moment you fall asleep. Put it across the room. Then, tomorrow morning, do not touch it immediately. Give yourself the first 20 minutes of your day, no notifications, no social media, no random videos, just 20 minutes where your brain entirely belongs to you. Just think about what actually happens when you wake up and immediately check your phone. Before you've even gotten out of bed, you've already entered everyone else's world. You're flooded with messages, news, entertainment, other people's opinions, and other people's lives. Suddenly, your brain is in reaction mode before you've even had a chance to decide what you want your own day to look like. Instead, give yourself those first few minutes to decide what actually matters to you. Section 3, the power of boredom. Now we're shifting into a psychological mindset fix that most people completely ignore, but let me tell you, it is incredibly powerful. Step 3 is literally practicing boredom. Yes, you heard me right, boredom. Try sitting somewhere without your phone. Don't play music, don't open an app, don't watch anything. Just sit. Now, at first, it might feel strangely uncomfortable. Your brain is going to tell you to check something, you'll suddenly remember an urgent message you just have to answer, or you'll think of something super important you need to search right now. That is completely normal. The key is, don't immediately react. Let the feeling pass. By doing this, you're teaching your brain a powerful new rule. I don't have to respond to every impulse. And this is a massive skill. Because tolerating that discomfort doesn't just help with your phone, it helps with literally everything. When studying becomes difficult, you don't immediately quit. When a workout becomes painful, you don't immediately stop. When work becomes boring, you don't immediately try to escape. When life becomes uncomfortable, you don't automatically run away. You become better at staying. And that is exactly where real progress happens. Almost everything valuable in life requires sustained attention. Getting fit, learning a new language, building a business, becoming financially stable, developing a career, writing a book, building meaningful relationships. None of these things give you a reward every 5 seconds. They require patience. They require repetition. They require you to keep going when the initial excitement disappears. Your brain needs to relearn patience and focus, not constant stimulation. It needs the ability to stay with something long enough for the actual reward to arrive. Section 4. The 7-day experiment. So let's put this into practice. I want to present you with a challenge that is totally achievable. For the next 7 days, I want you to follow 3 simple rules. Rule number 1, no phone for the first 20 minutes after waking up. Rule number 2, during one important task every single day, put your phone somewhere you literally cannot reach it. Just 30 minutes. That's all. 30 minutes of completely uninterrupted attention. And rule number 3 is asking yourself this specific question before opening a distracting app. What exactly am I here to do? If you have a specific answer, great, go do it, then leave. If you don't have an answer, don't open the app. That question sounds incredibly simple, but it's a vital circuit breaker. It forces you to turn an automatic habit back into a conscious decision. And that's the entire goal here. You don't need to stop using your phone, you just need to stop using it automatically. After just a few days of trying this experiment, something really fascinating might happen. You might notice that you're reaching for your phone a lot less. You might finish your tasks way faster. You might find that reading a book is suddenly easier. You might start enjoying quiet walks without needing a podcast or music playing in the background. You might even notice that silence just doesn't feel as uncomfortable anymore. And that is when you'll understand a really profound truth. Your attention was never gone. You were just giving it away. Section 5. Your attention is your life. Which brings us to our final and honestly most important realization. Let's really slow down and think about this deeply. Every single day, your attention is being pulled in 100 different directions. Companies want it, creators want it, advertisers want it, friends want it, algorithms want it, and they all have a very good reason to compete for it. But you only have one attention span. You only have so many hours in your life. So the question we should be asking isn't just, how can I become more productive? The much better, much more profound question is, what actually deserves my attention? Look at how this cascades. Your attention determines what you notice. What you notice influences what you think about. What you think about influences what you do. What you repeatedly do becomes your habits, and your habits ultimately shape your entire life. It is all connected. That is exactly why this whole philosophy isn't about becoming anti-phone and completely rejecting the modern world. It's about becoming pro-choice. It's about choosing when you work, choosing when you rest, choosing when you scroll, choosing when you communicate, and choosing when you disconnect. It's about making conscious choices instead of letting an algorithm make those decisions for you. The next time you catch yourself sitting there saying, I'm just not motivated to do this, I want you to stop for a second. Look at your environment, look at your phone, look at your habits, and ask yourself, have I trained myself to constantly escape discomfort? Because maybe you actually don't lack motivation. Maybe you just need fewer distractions. Maybe you don't need another crazy productivity hack. Maybe you just need to protect your attention. Taking back control doesn't mean you need to completely change your entire life overnight. Maybe you just need to stop giving away the next 10 minutes, and then the next 10, and then the next 10, because that is how your life is actually created. It's not built through one massive, overwhelming decision. It's built through thousands of small decisions about where your attention goes. Your phone is always going to have another notification. There will always be another video, another message, another trend, another thing you could watch. But your time? That doesn't come with an unlimited supply. And neither does your attention. So yes, absolutely use your phone. Learn from it, create with it, connect through it. But don't let it decide what you think about every single minute of the day. Because technology should be a tool in your life, not the place where your life happens. Your phone can hold your attention, but it should never own it. So, the ultimate question is this. What will you choose to build with your attention today? If you want to understand your mind, build stronger habits, improve your focus, and truly become the person you are capable of becoming, this is MindForge. Understand your mind, build your life.